Welcome to the Beer&Gear podcast with Chris Taylor.
Welcome to this week's podcast, and I've got a really great guest today. Actually, we go back quite a while. It's Mr. Gizz Butt. How you doing, Gizz?
I'm good now.
Thank
you. Yeah, cheers, Chris.
How's life treating you?
I consider myself lucky. Do you know what I mean? Every day I consider myself one of the lucky ones. You know, it's interesting. Everything's interesting.
Yeah. It's just literally trying to find positive things to do in it with your time, and it's not because it's been a very difficult last year for yourself especially, and me to a certain extent, not been able to get out there and play shows and try and find ways to keep your creativity up.
Yeah. Well, last year, you know, just before the shit hit the fan, my band Janus Stark, we'd released this album, Angel in the Flames. And we went through I went through the full process of, you know, everything, the whole kind of getting back into writing. I went through a period of time where I almost gave up writing. And the reason why for that was because I just hadn't had any success at all with it. You know, during the More I See period, I just suffered so much fucking bad luck with it. You know, it was like I just thought to myself, you know, really, why bother? You know, I'm going to such great lengths to do all this stuff. No one's listening. So I thought, stuff it, you know, I'm not going to bother writing anymore. And then I just got something back. When David Bowie died, I kind of like started writing again and picked up the guitar, started writing some riffs. So I went through the whole process of writing a new album, recording it, getting a label, putting it out, getting gigs, lined up, tours. We supported the Wild Hearts. We got the first album re-released.
Yeah.
On vinyl, which, you know, was great. And then, we got the album was released, good reviews all round. And the Wild Arts tour, as I said, fantastic. You can't get any better. All the ducks were in a row. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Everything was set up.
Yeah.
And we had, you know, like about 50 dates booked. And then one by one,
everything gets cancelled.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm trying to remember when we played our last show. I've got a feeling it might have been February the 29th in Manchester, maybe. Right. Yeah, so, and then they all went, you know.
I'm just in this year as well, like there's only certain festivals happening this year, isn't it? Like Download's been put off till next year, hasn't it, already? Because it just fell at the cusp of the wrong time in June before the supposed date that we're all, you know, back to normal, you know.
Yeah. Well, Rebellion Festival's happening.
Right. Cool.
Yeah. Do you know that one?
I've not been to that one. No, I haven't actually been to that one. No, I've supplied stuff for it in the past, but not actually.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Cool. Well, yeah, you know, it's the punk festival.
Yeah.
So that's happening, and we're on it.
Super.
So, and we took the chance. Well, everyone did, didn't they? Especially the promoter. It was cancelled last year. And then we just said, well, look, you know, please consider us for the next year. And if we have to cancel it that year, then consider us for the next year. We are here, you know.
Yeah.
In fact, what I've done is said to all the promoters, I said, look, we're here when you need us, when you're ready, we're here. You know, we're not going to split up. We're going to hold that. I know it's easier said than done. Mm-hmm. This has tested all of our sanity, hasn't it? You know?
Yeah.
I mean, we've all got our ways of holding it together. And one of my ways has just been, I've just got so just wrapped up in the guitars, you know, and I must admit, I bought a few. You know, I bought a few bits and bobs.
Well, guitar sales are up massive in the last year because people have been at home just not going on holidays, not buying new cars and buying guitars, basically.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, and you can see a trend in it from the manufacturers as well, because this whole thing's got a knock-on effect in so many different ways. It's like I did the virtual NAMM thing a couple of weeks ago because obviously they couldn't hold the NAMM show, so it was done on a website. But like every manufacturer for the last few years, you've seen great leaps and bounds, haven't you, in sort of the 500, 600 pound level and the quality that you can get. This year, it's top end only. Literally, people are just bringing out high price, high price instruments, that £1,200 and above sort of thing.
2,000 quid.
And it makes sense, doesn't it? Really, because if you think about it, if you've got that's basically the stuff that they can make in their own factories, because they can't rely maybe on the import schedules, because factories are getting closed and all this kind of stuff because of COVID. And it's literally, they've had to just sort of focus on what they do best. So that's why you see top end stuff coming out, I guess.
Yeah, I know exactly. Well, I'll tell you, I've seen some of the very latest Ibanez, you know, the kind of like Telecaster looky-likey ones with very tasty tremolo systems and beautiful tops, you know. I mean,
it's like they've made a better telly, isn't it? You know.
Yeah, I mean, I'm tempted.
Yeah.
I've got to be careful though. It's just I get so obsessed with guitars.
I'm the same. Like in this room at the minute, this is where I normally sit to do like me recording and stuff like that. So what I've got out at the moment here is just what I'm using for tracking at the moment. But
yeah, well, I'm doing the same.
There's another 5 or 6 there, and it's like, you know, they're everywhere. They're everywhere.
I'm the same, but the approach, because like I'm writing a new album for Janus Stark, and the approach I'm taking this time is when I do a demo. So I do a demo every track, and I'm currently in like the home demo studio. All right, so you can't. I mean, you've got the tasty microphone over here. You can't see everything. I've got like a Roland electronic drum kit over there. I don't play it, by the way. I'm shit. I can actually do a very crap drum beat,
and then fix it in the MIDI.
I always like, you know, I'll get Fozzy to play it because, you know, he's great. And I wish that light had stopped going out. And but anyway, so I'm in the home demo place. So, but what I've been doing is, because we got Andy Hawkins, he's going to produce it. And now I want to get him more active rather than me co-producing. I just want him to be the producer. Yeah. So what I'm doing is I'm demoing every song with one guitar only. Now, I don't mean one track. I mean, I'll multi-track it, but with one guitar, so that he hears the character of that guitar pure. Yeah. And then later on, he can decide, yeah, we'll use that one for that song or that section of the song, or, you know, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. That makes a lot of sense, actually.
Well, Terry Thomas, when we did the first Janus Stark album, he really went to town on the guitars. You know, he was like brilliant at deciding what guitars should be used for what part of what song. Okay. And he was brilliant at it.
I love layering different sounds and guitars, but I like that that ethos you've got there of like, we'll just use one guitar for all the tones on a particular song, because even just with one guitar, there's so many different tonal characteristics, where you put your volume knob, where your pickup selector is, that kind of stuff, how you pick it, you know. Of course. Yeah, it's kind of earthy, really. It's kind of really getting back to like, I've got this and it's going to make all the sounds I need, you know.
Well, I mean, let me give you an idea. Put this one down a second. This one over here, Bluey. I mean, this has kind of been my famous. I've had this one for quite a while. I got this one during the Prodigy days. Yeah, I kind of designed it. It's a GAX. I was kind of part of designing the GAX.
Yeah, I remember when they came out.
And you know, they said to me, they came up to me, Ibanez, this is, when the Prodigy were playing in LA, they came backstage and they said, you know, if you was going to design your own guitar, how would it be? What would you have? You know? And so at that time I was playing SGs. Mm-hmm. So I was thinking of an SG shape, but at the same time in my head, I had the impression of, you know, Johnny Thunders, because I've always thought that he looks cool. You know, wasn't the greatest guitarist by any stretch, but always looked good. Yeah. And so I just thought, well, you know, I'd like something kind of between like an SG and a, you know, like a Melody Maker, a Les Paul Jr. Yeah. So I was just really going around the shape around all of these things, you know. And then they, got this and this. I'll give you a little idea about the whole Prodigy thing. I've got this in there.
Oh, sweet.
So yeah, you can combine that with delays and things, but the tone of this monster is just fantastic. It's just got such a great sound. I mean, that's that thunk.
Yeah, it's got the attack and the body, hasn't it? What pickups are in that?
This has got the classic Seymour Duncan Jbs. The funny thing is with these ones, because they've set them in these kind of pickup holder. Tell me the right word.
Pickup rings. Yeah.
Pickup rings. Yeah. Yeah. So they've set them, and they're really high.
Yeah. So right up to the strings, basically.
Well, the bloody pickup. What do they call? They get rings.
Yeah.
Pickup rings. They're fucking really high. So I have to have the pickup inside it. Kind of have to bring it down a little bit, because if I don't, it screws with the intonation, because the pickup. The power of it is always pulling on the downstream.
The magnet pull, yeah.
Yeah, and so it messes with the intonation. So I have to bring it down a bit. If I don't, I mean, you get awesome tone, sacrificing playing in tune. Do you know what I mean?
Which kind of matters when you're recording. Yeah.
Or which one should I go for? Oh, the tone is so good. Oh, I don't care. Tuning's overrated anyway.
Yeah, tune the bass to the guitar, damn it.
Look, I can tune it like mid-song, no problem. So anyway, yeah, you get the idea. I mean, I record with this guitar like all the time.
Yeah.
So, like, for instance, if I play you, I'm self-plugging myself here, Chris. Excuse me.
It's all good, mate.
So that's a song called "Crucify All the Leaders" off the new Janus Stark album, right? And straight away you've got that. Just I'm thinking about the rhythm guitars here. Okay, so yeah, you get the idea.
Yeah, get it, man. Get it.
Got a great tone, and of course I'm thinking about rhythm, because I like to think about rhythm and lead and bass, all of it. I don't just think about soloing, and I love it. I could solo all day long, and very therapeutic. I love it. But your rhythm guitar is your it's your backbone, isn't it?
It's the meat and potatoes, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, it's your bread and butter.
Well, you basically any guitar player. It's like it can be the flashiest lead player in the world, but 90% of the time they're playing rhythm.
Yeah, well, hopefully not that much. Yeah, we'll soon sort that out, Chris. But no, because I do love playing lead. But when I watch like something on YouTube where they're kind of demonstrating a pickup, and I just get like loads of awful blues playing, like terrible blues soloing.
Sometimes I just want to hear a really good Pete Townsend style chord.
Well, just play me the fucking riff.
Yeah, just do the riff. Yeah.
I want to hear. I want to hear. I want to hear that. I want to hear that kind of thing. I want to hear what's the pickup capable of. Yeah, all that. I want to hear And how does it sound when I go? What do them chords sound like? That's what I want to know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's our reference, though, isn't it? You know, you want to hear something that's applicable to, like I judge pickup sounds by, like it's like you say, riffs. I don't really want to hear 90 million notes or a blues solo.
Well, I mean, I'll give you an idea. I mean, like, there's a Telecaster. You'll have to excuse the tuning. This has got bare knuckle pile drivers.
Oh, right, okay.
Sounds absolutely awesome, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's
and
great.
That's what you want to hear, you know. Rather than really shoddy blues solos, you know.
Or sometimes the other neck of it with like the million mile shred thing, where if you're gonna demonstrate like a product to me, I want to hear it. I don't want someone just showing off themselves. I want to hear what
well, they can't blame them.
Nah.
You can't blame them.
It's all for you.
It is fun.
So I've noticed, like, obviously on Facebook and stuff, that you've been putting bare knuckles in quite a few guitars recently, haven't you? What do you like about them?
Lots of things. So, like, you know, I've put bare knuckles in my Fender Strats.
Yeah.
And because I just wasn't playing them. I mean, you might say, well, you've got all those Ibanezes. What do you want to play a Fender Strat for? Well, you see, the thing is,
a Strat's a
Strat.
Yeah.
And you know, again, when Janus Stark, when we were doing the first album, The Great Adventure Cigar, Terry Thomas was such a great producer, and he would say, use this guitar for that song, use this one, that. And he would get every guitar out. There'd be Strats, Telecasters, SGs, everything, you know. I've got this Ibanez called is it a Talisman? Ibanez Talisman? Talman.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of Talisman, which is something to do with, I don't know, is it to do with magic or something?
Something like that.
But so the Talman, which is kind of, you know, it looks like a cross between a Strat and a Telly almost.
Yeah, it was like when they first came out in the 90s, and it was they're kind of retro, they're sort of looking line. Yeah.
Offspring used to use them.
That's right. Yeah, Noodles had one. In fact,
that's right, Noodles. Good guy, Noodles.
His signature model used to cause us headaches. I'll tell you why. Because it was
why?
It was covered in gaffer tape, silver gaffer tape. That was the finish. It was covered in gaffer tape, and people would buy them, and like 2 years later, they'd ring up saying the gaffer tape's peeling off. And we'd go, well, yeah, it's gaffer tape.
That's what it does.
Put some more on. You know what I mean?
Or take it all off.
Or take it off, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, so the bare knuckles, you know, so in my mind is, look, I've got this guitar which is kind of unloved, and I want to stop that now, you know. I want to, and I've been listening a lot to a band called the Night Marchers and another band called the Sultans, and these are bands that are run by John Reese, the lead singer of Rocket from the Crypt.
Oh, right, okay.
And he's based in San Diego, so his bands are kind of based. He's also in the Hot Snakes, that are more of a kind of, you'll have to excuse me, my brain's just dried up very quickly. Post-hardcore. Right, yeah, okay. So, and I love these bands, you know, they're all great. And there's a lot of single core pickup stuff going on in these songs. So that kind of makes me think, listen, you know, I shouldn't shy away from any of this.
No.
Especially when I do the new album. I want the album to have lots of sounds.
Dynamics as well.
Yeah, I want dynamics. Yeah. There's a certain thing that Telecasters and Strats are going to bring.
There is.
And I want that, you know.
There is. I love Tellys and Strats, because like you say, you can have different guitars. Like I say, Ibanez are really great at giving you those kind of sounds in a modern instrument, but at the same time, they're not a Strat and they're not a Telly. You can have the single coil pickup sounds in your RG, for example, but it's not the same. A Strat fights you in a different way.
No, like for instance, you know, like let's say Polyphia, when they use a single coil sound in some of their stuff, I love that, but it's kind of like single coil with a stinking attitude, isn't it? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whereas, you know, Stevie Ray Vaughan, now that is like the most beautiful sounding single coil sound of all time, in my opinion.
I'd agree with
you. Know, I'm absolute sucker for Stevie Ray Vaughan. I could listen to him night and day.
Me too.
I have done.
I will say as well, I mean, I'm not a massive fan of his music, but John Mayer's got some great single coil tones as well.
Yeah, sure.
You know, I mean, I'm the wrong sex to really enjoy it, like, but it's, you know, but his tones are great, you know.
Yeah. So basically, bare knuckle. I thought, look, I'm going to put in the Strat. I'm going to put some hot pickups. I mean, I was checking out some Paul Gilbert stuff, so I was kind of convinced that I was going to use. He's got a DiMarzio single coil. I bought it and I was going to put that in.
DiMarzio Injector.
That's the one, yeah. And I think I've still got it. I don't think I put it in. Well, no, I did put it.
But they're in the Fireman. They're great sounding pickups.
But I put it in, and I was with Andy Sneap, you know, my best mate.
I know Andy, yeah.
So, because we're both absolutely obsessed with guitars, and we can't leave it alone. So I went up to his and we got this Strat, and we put in this injector, and then we both went, sounds a bit brittle, doesn't it? You know, and then, let's try something else. So we tried, one of my friends, he gave me a Seymour Duncan, quite a, you know, high gain one. We put that in and we thought, it's getting there. It's kind of getting closer. And then he had a bare knuckles Sinner hanging around and said, let's put that in. I put it in.
Yeah.
This is it.
That was it.
So that was it. Then I got in, you know, I basically bought myself a couple of Sinners, and then I bought the whole set, you know, so I got the full Sinner set. So yeah great. Yeah,
and you've been using the Vega Trem, haven't you, recently as well? Because that's starting to take off in places now. You're seeing lots more of it. But they really do give you a, like I said, I'd like to see it, because it's like it's a modern vintage Trem, isn't it? That actually gives you all the benefits of like the play of a Floyd or something without the lock-in.
Absolutely. I mean, I fucking love it. I love it. Look, let me just give you a run through with this. Bear with me a second, Chris.
No worries.
Okay, here we go. Right. So what I've been doing with the Vega Trem is, because, you know, okay, I'm a punk rocker and I play in punk rock bands and stuff. And when you play kind of, you know, I don't know, flash guitar, it doesn't always go down well with the old punks. Sometimes they kind of like, they don't like it, you know, I can understand it. It's like, for instance, a lot of old punks don't like it when you step up to the stage with an Ibanez RG 550. They'd rather see
a Les Paul Jr. or something.
A Les Paul. Yeah, a Les Paul. But sometimes a guitar like this, which is kind of like the crappy old guitar that you got left by, you know, one of your best mates who, you know, he put it in his will. So you end up, you get this guitar, you love it, because of your memory of your best mate, you know, you love your best mate, but they've passed, you've got this guitar, you'd like to play it, but it won't play in tune.
Yeah.
Sounds a sack of shit, you know what I mean? Yeah. And you just think to yourself, well, it's just going to collect dust in the corner. It's a fucking crime. That's a crime against guitars, you know, especially because this turns out to be like a lovely piece of ash, you know.
Oh, yeah.
And it's got this mental flipping glam rock finish about it. And funnily enough, sometimes punks don't mind that, because the whole glam rock thing, which comes from David Bowie, you know, and David Bowie sometimes is heralded as being the first punk, you know, and, you know, he was a massive sponsor of Iggy Pop, who was the first punk, you know, so that kind of can go down well. Now, the tremolo system, punks, you can't use them, you know what I mean?
They're not allowed. Yeah.
But then you get Brian Setzer.
Yeah, he's always
he
got
plays.
always big.
Yeah. Yeah, so Brian Setzer uses it, but you know there have been some guitars in the past, some guitarists that have used tremolos, but I just thought it's time to step out and be a bit rude, I suppose, you know, and just do it.
I think it's a great invention, really. It just runs on a blade, doesn't it? You can fit it onto a normal strap bridge without any drilling or anything, can't you?
Yeah, it runs on a blade. It's the design of it is so amazing, it can fit into a tiny space. So like the space that I was allowed in here was pathetic. It was the smallest amount of space I've ever seen for a tremolo. Right. I think that we had to open it up a bit. I have got a luthier. There's a guy called John Hare. He's based in Peterborough. He's fantastic. Hi, John. We
can give him a link in the description.
Yeah, John Hare Guitar Services. He's helped me out so much. He's my neighbour as well, so you know. A bit louder. Yeah, so it always helps. So to try and give you an example, like with the now with any traditional trem, that's what it's based on.
Yeah.
So it's based on a Strat traditional trem, and like what you say, it's on a blade. Unlike, you know, when you get the old-fashioned traditional trem, which is on 6 screws.
Yeah.
Which is like a huge block going backwards and forwards. But you know, if you treat that right, that can work quite well.
They can. It's time and effort setting them up right.
That's it.
Yeah.
Because in one of my guitars, I've got one, and I really went to town getting that good. But then I thought, I'll just put a Vega Trem in it, and the Vega Trem has just taken it to another level, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's on a blade, and you know, it's floating, so it can go up and down. So the action of it is very similar to, you know,
to a Floyd.
So that's like a Floyd. So it goes all the way up, all the way down. The tuning of it. Bear in mind, I've literally just picked it up. So, I mean, I would always be kind enough to stretch in a guitar a bit before a gig.
Yeah.
But this is literally out the case in here. I haven't even checked if it's in tune anyway.
No.
It's in tune.
You can't argue with that, can you?
So then, let's have a look. Yeah.
Nah, that system works cool.
Well, it's great. Should we see if it's in tune?
It's still there.
It's still there, yeah.
So
sorry about all them mistakes. I didn't even,
Oh,
I didn't warm up or anything. I just went for it.
I wasn't expecting a performance on the podcast. That's awesome.
Even was I. But you know,
I'll put a link for Vega Trems in the description if anyone wants to check them out, because that's the first time someone's actually shown me how they work. I've not really looked into any demos, and that's as good as demos. Really. You know, it's like, here's me playing a full track and using the bar lots like I would if it was a Floyd, and it's not going out of tune. I mean, what better way? I've
got to say, really, look, I can do this now.
I'm always messing. Look,
I'm sorry to Floyd Rose for what I'm about to do. I bet I get really some stick now for this, but anyway, here we go. Look, I've got loads of Floyd Roses in loads of my guitar. This is actually my favorite solo guitar. I use this guitar for all my solos.
That's a zero-point system. I mean, that one.
It's got one hell of a sound. I'm in E flat. Okay, so right, E flat. I'll have to change the tuning of the track. So here we go. So if I try to do the same. It's not the same. It's not as good. It's kind of stopping.
That one will though. That one.
I know it. I know it will.
It's the 0.1 one. It's the 0-point trem.
Yeah, but
I never got on with those. They were all right. I always preferred the Edge, the original Edge system.
I took everything out of it though. Look.
Got you.
Okay, so I've got the Edge down here.
Yeah, the Edge is a great system. That's the one.
So, but listen, Chris, we know the limits of that tremolo system. It's still not as good, and also it feels heavier. You know,
there's more metal there.
Bless.
Yeah, there's more metal there.
But like if I try going, it's just not as great as
the Vega sounded really smooth on the smooth on the gargles, if you know what I mean. With the bar dips, it sounded great.
Everything. I mean, you know, and I love this guitar, but you know, the trem system is better on the Vega.
All mine are set to, well, the one apart from my Ibanez is everything's set to be flat on the body. I don't have any pullback on mine.
Don't you?
Nah.
So a bit of a Van Halen thing.
Yeah, I have them set like that with the don't use the detuner then, you see. So
yeah, sure.
So,
well, I have got that on one of my guitars, but what I do is I just block off the tremolo.
Yeah, same thing.
Just totally block it off.
Same thing. It's just for me as well. If I ever pop a string, I'm not going to go out of tune in the middle of a song live. Like I can carry on, you know. So yeah. But you shouldn't be breaking strings anyway. To be fair, I play nines in E flat, so I don't break a lot. So what are you playing through for your amp tones there? Sorry, what are you playing through for your amp tones? Marshall JVM. Is that what we're hearing through this? Yeah. Yeah, Marshall JVM. Nice. Over there, mic'd up. Yeah, it's I like it a lot, you know. It's, I haven't been able to mic an amp in over a year. Literally, this has been me for every day for guitar tones the last year. You know, just that. Yeah. I mean, I've got an amp collection.
Of course, like
Me
you
too.
have.
I can't use them at the moment.
Well, I've got a room, and I just always make sure that I go in there and blast out an amp because you know, my mate that used to fix my amps for me, he's now retired, and he's quite ill. You know, he's quite an old guy. He's lost the use of like his hands and everything. He's in a wheelchair. He's quite old, you know. But he phoned me up the other day and he said, "How are you getting on?" And he goes, "Listen, you know, just a word of advice: make sure you fire up them amps regularly." He says those capacitors, if you don't do it, they'll start leaking. They'll be fucked before you know it.
You got a repair bill. Yeah.
Yeah, you've got a repair bill, and it may never sound the same. There's always that thing as well. So all you have to do is just regularly get it in a room, rig it up, spend an hour through it.
Yeah.
You warm it up.
Get it warm.
Yeah. So, and all these amps have got a different thing. It's like, look, I could play, I mean, this is a special guitar as well. This one, the pickup was actually wired by my friend John Hare.
Right.
And I got a tip off, I'm trying to remember, what's the keyboard player of Rainbow? The guy that was,
Don.
No, not Don. The other one. The one that was, I'm trying to remember the name of the Dio album, the Rainbow with Dio. Oh, I can't remember. Anyway, the keyboard player, his guitarist, he told me about, he got a Seymour Duncan, and what he did is he went to his luthier and he got a JB, and he said to his luthier, could you rewire it for me, but just make it slightly hotter? Do you know what I mean? And so I had a broken JB, you know, so I thought, hey, in for a penny, in for a pound. So I went to my luthier, John, and I said, could you just make it slightly hotter? And he came up with this beast, and it's really fantastic sounding. Sounds great through everything. You know, plug it into a Marshall, sounds great. Plug it into a Mesa Boogie, sounds great. PV 5150 6505 sounds great. 6550 6505.
You got it right first time.
And so it sounds great through everything. You know, like some guitars sound amazing in one amp, don't sound good in another.
Yeah,
you know, which is a bit strange, but
yeah,
it's the way
I know exactly what you mean with that.
It's the way how the gain saturates. It's just
it's gain staging and things like that. You're right. Yeah,
it's just life. You know, it's just you have to accept it. Sometimes when you get a great guitar for very cheap on eBay, which when you do, you know, count your lucky stars. But when you do, the reason why is because the guy who sold it couldn't get a good sound out of his amp because it was in the wrong amp. It wasn't matched. Yeah,
it didn't. Yeah. There's not that many bargains around anymore. There was.
It's gone up again at the moment.
It's gone up.
Yeah. Man. I mean, I'm always looking, but I'm not massively impressed with a lot of the quality that's going on at the moment. There's a lot of shoddy guitars going for expensive, you know.
I think there's two ways to look at it. I think what you're seeing is, I had this chat the other day, that there's no better time to be a guitar player than now, with what's available for how much it costs. But at the same time, there's a trade-off between quality control and having brilliant spec at a certain price, if you get what I mean. Because what you can get for £500, £600 now is what we probably would have been £1,000 10 years ago.
Yeah, you want to bet.
But the stuff's coming out so thick and fast that you're starting to see brands that are having issues with finish and fret sprout and things like that. You know, but these things are imported. They're coming over in containers. It's the moisture, it's the humidity, that kind of stuff. And people are getting direct to their house and going, "Oh, why do the frets stick out of the side of the fingerboard?"
Well, you know, every time you buy a guitar, really, you should go
to the shop and try it. Go to the shop and try it.
You know? Well, wouldn't we like to do that again? I'd love, you know, I wish in Peterborough, I think they've got one guitar shop, but you'd like, you know, the problem is though, the bloody rates that they get charged, you know, but you would love like a nice close by guitar center with, you know, some of the guys that are kind of doing online shops, secondhand shops online. You'd love it if a few of them kind of came together, you know, hired out one unit, had a corner each, and that was the guitar shop, you know.
Yeah.
They'll have a few new instruments that come in, of course, the ones that take the chance on doing that. And then you'll have a lot of good quality secondhand, you know.
Yeah. I've got to ask you, because I asked this to all the guys that I've chatted to so far. Is well, me personally, I think it's the same with everyone. They can always remember a moment in their life or a time that basically started them on this journey on, well, I'm going to be a guitar player, or I'm going to play the drums, or I'm going to play something.
Yeah.
Where did that come for you? How did it all start out? When did you get the bug? What inspired you? And tell us where it took you as well, because you've been to some amazing places, haven't you?
Well, my brother was a guitarist, so there was always a guitar around the house. And just one day, I must have been 10 years old, and I just picked up an acoustic guitar. And because I was listening a lot at that time, 10 years old, so it would have been 76. And I was listening to the Beatles a lot. You know, I'd kind of just discovered the Beatles. Well, I discovered the Beatles really when I was about 8, I think, 8 or 9. The first album that I got was Help. And then I started getting more. And whenever I got, you know, saving up my pocket money, doing jobs for my parents and, you know, Christmas and birthdays, so I'd buy another couple, you know. And then I'd sort of gradually, bit by bit, sort of like started to collect all the Beatles albums. And then, so I'd have the Beatles songs just playing in my head all the time, you know. And then one day I just picked up a guitar and I just kind of like, I didn't do it straight off. I was looking for the notes, but I did it all by ear. You know, so I just basically tried figuring out the melody of She Loves You. And then I also had that Monkeys song in my head, I'm a Believer. That bit. So I just tried doing that. And then when it came up to my birthday, I said, oh, can I get a guitar for birthday? And, you know, I got one. But I didn't know what to do. I had this lump of wood and I was just, you know, I didn't know what I was doing. And they bought me a chord book, and I remember like trying to figure out these chords. I still had these Beatles songs ringing around my head, but I didn't know how to play them. And I even tried to actually play a chord sequence, but I didn't know how you did a chord sequence. So I was doing things like this, like. And I was playing like that, so I didn't know how you play.
You didn't know how to finger the actual chord, yeah.
And then one day I saw a chord diagram and just thought, oh, isn't that first finger, second, third? And then my brother came home again because he was in and out at the time. He was 18, so he was going in and out. And when he did, he picked up the guitar and he just started going. And I was just transfixed watching him, thinking, this is amazing, you know.
Yeah.
And so then I started to learn how to play just like some basic rock and roll, like a. And I'll never forget when I first learned how to do that. So I was watching my brother and I was trying to sort of like, you're doing it. And should I use my second or my third finger? I was thinking, but I realized I quickly realized if I use my second, it was easier to go like that. And the Beatles were doing that all the time, you know. like that. So they were doing that thing all the time. And so I was playing Eddie Cochran, Buddy Holly, and bit of Beatles. That kind of thing, Revolution. And then it was coming up to Christmas, and I asked my dad, can I get another guitar for Christmas? And then he said, yes, but you've got to have guitar lessons. So I started having guitar lessons, and he took me to this jazz guitarist. And he said, well, you know, for a start, you can stop playing that rock and roll, But this is the mad thing. The jazz guitarist taught me how to construct chords.
Right.
So he taught me that basically, like if I did this, that this was a minor chord, but if I did that, it was a minor with a major 7, minor with a 7, minor with a 6, sharp and fifth. And then he taught me how to play, augmented and diminished chords, and how I could construct chords using the first, third, and fifth, adding the sevenths. And that I didn't need to learn every chord; I could actually construct it.
Yeah.
So instead of learning 10,000 chords, you learn how to make.
Put your hand. You learn to. Yeah.
You learn how to make them. Yeah. So that really helped. That opened the world, So like. All of a sudden, I was playing these kind of like. I was doing all that kind of stuff. Like that kind of stuff. But then punk rock came along. And who can resist the sound of Steve Jones's chord at the beginning of Holidays in the Sun? Yeah, all that stuff, absolutely amazing. And then that sound, Steve Jones's sound, for me was like, oh my God, but at the same time, I still had, like a lot of the whole Hendrix thing going on, because my brother, he used to have parties at his flat, and he used to sort of like keep me prison in his bedroom and say, I'll let you in the party if you learn how to play. And he'd put on Red House by Jimi Hendrix, and I'd have to learn how to play. So I'd have to like play a load of like Hendrix to get in the party.
Right. So punk rock, then it took you onto the so just from all that, literally took you into gigging, didn't it? Because the first band I had was called The Exits. But I had one before it called the Northern Lights. That was they're all school. We're talking school bands. Mm-hmm. And the first song I ever played live was "The Kids Are All Right," which was we did Eddie and the Hot Rods version of it, which was I don't mind all the guys dancing with my girl. That's fine. I know them all pretty well. 'Cause I know if I don't, I'll go out of my mind. Better leave her behind. Well, the kids are all right. The kids are all right. Like that, that was the first song ever
to play live.
That you ever played live? Man.
Yeah.
Man.
And then after that, we did like a load of Sex Pistols and sort of. I remember like there was this new wave band called Tonight, and they had a song called The Drummer Man, and we played that. That was, we made out that we wrote it. Yeah. How
did you transition from well, I guess it's similar. I'll just do it from sort of punk rock scene to the sort of the 90s sort of massive dance rock scene as well.
Well, you see, the thing is with that is in the mid 90s, we reformed the English Dogs. Now, the English Dogs, if you're not sure, they were basically one of the bands that the idea behind the English Dogs was to try, well, initially it was kind of like a punk band, like in the vein of, I guess, like, you know, a GBH kind of street punk band. But, you know, GBH always had a little bit of a Motorheady feel about them. I don't know if you've ever heard any GBH. Have you heard any?
I'm not massively familiar now, but I will.
Right, so you get the idea, you know. Like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So very Motorheady. It's got that kind of rhythm on the hand, you know. Like that kind of stuff. Yeah, very, very Motorheady. It's got what's called the D beat. Do you know about the D beat?
Tell me about the D beat.
Okay, it's basically
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which the ace of spades. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the D beat was a beat that the punk bands adopted, and we used it all the time. So. All right, so that kind of thing. We used to love just doing very short songs with like that rhythm going on all the time, you know.
Energy, innit?
Oh, it's great. Quite fast sort of stuff, you know. I mean, the bands that were doing it eventually became, everyone was doing it at one point. I mean, Dead Kennedys, they did quite a good, you know, when they came along, where they suddenly took it up a notch and started doing blast beats.
Yeah.
Well, I never really massively ventured into that road. But anyway, so English Dogs were a band that they went from GBH kind of punk to fusing together heavy metal and punk to form a new form of music called crossover. So like we would have, let's say, you know, like what was essentially, you know, like a kind of punk riff. Okay, so something like this. And that's very typical of a kind of like 80s kind of punk, lots and lots of chords, you know. I already started to add some metal-y stuff there.
Yeah.
But it was like... And then when we started to put the, you know, in the chord sequences, we wouldn't shy away from using tritones, you know. So let's have a think. All right, so that's basically very kind of dark chord sequences. And we weren't necessarily thinking about, oh, what scale does this use? You know, we were more kind of like...
Does it sound interesting? Is it cool? You know, does it work? Yeah.
Yeah, it was all really about... I mean, sometimes we just use nothing but shapes. Just shapes. And then later on, we'd have to learn what notes are going to work over that. So anyway, so the English Dogs were a kind of crossover band, and the Prodigy. Well, we were friends with a guy called Mo Rat. We still are. Mo Rat's a close friend. Mo Rat's a punk rocker through and through. He's got punk rock. Yeah, if he cut his finger, punk rock would be bleeding out of it. He's the most punk rock guy out there. And, you know, he's a great guy. He was the best man at mine and Tracy's wedding. And he got me in the Prodigy. So he's a thoroughbred punk rock guy. And he was working for Kerrang at the time. And I'd reformed the English Dogs and was like trying my hardest to get us a gig, you know, get us a decent record deal. We went to the States because it just didn't seem to be working over here, right? You know, I was trying to get us a better record deal over here. It looked like promising. Maybe I could get East West. You know, they had Wild Hearts at the time. But I was getting the runaround. Do you know what I mean? I was like on a weekly basis trying to get gigs, tours. We were touring with the Misfits. That's a good tour to get. And then I'll be phoning up every other day, you know, like, I better not say the names of the people, but A&R people for all these record labels at East West and stuff, you know, come and see us live, you know, all this kind of stuff. And they're kind of like, they're playing that game. Don't know if I can commit, you know. I'll have to wait till someone else is into it and then I'll be into it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Fucking game.
Yeah.
Can't you just invest? Put some faith into these bands, you know, be the first person who commits, be risky.
Yeah.
That's what all these great labels in the States did when you had bands like Iggy Pop coming along, Television, you know, when you had all these names, these people were taking chances. And now over here, what's wrong with you? No one wants to take a fucking chance. I daren't name that, or would love to give you the names. But there's a couple of people out there that so play the game. They have pretty much destroyed original music for us. You know, it's like what we hear is a diluted form of what we could have, you know, if they took the chance. But of course, they daren't take the chance. Ooh, they might risk their job. It's like, well, you just take a risk. You might be doing some good for humanity. Is your job that fucking important? No. Humanity is. Do something for it rather than your poxy numbers of your albums that you hope to sell.
Yeah,
and most of it's shit anyway.
And the marketing plans and the manufactured crap and like you say, diluted. What? I've never asked you this, even though we've met a bunch of times. And we've been the last people up in the bar in Downloader 1 year. They had to tell us to leave, didn't they? Because we kept the VIP going. The whole site was asleep, and there's just me and you at the bar. What stage rig would you use with the Prodigy being a very sort of obviously electronic setup? What would you use guitar wise to fit in with that mix?
Marshalls,
yeah, 800s. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I've got what I did at the beginning. I've got one of those 30th anniversary heads. So in '96, I used that.
Yeah.
And just a tube screamer, you know, just a couple of effects, you know.
Yeah. Did you have to have like all your guitars in like weird tunings and stuff?
No.
Because of the sample rates. I've always wondered about the sample rates and things like that.
That's difficult, isn't it? Yeah. But I was very fortunate. We had a sound guy that always put my guitar really loud.
Oh, right. Brilliant.
Yeah, Nick. He was great. Yeah, he put my guitar super loud. And I think that the guitar kind of went over any of the sample rate issues. But later on, I ended up getting, you know, like some preamps with built-in effects with pitch shifters. So I changed the pitch, you know, which is kind of commonplace now with Kempers and stuff, you know.
Yeah. Do you ever venture into that sort of area? Do you use Kempers and things like that?
I've got a Kemper, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
And you see more and more of them touring now as well, don't you? Because it's cheaper for an international band to use that than to hire backlining, you know? Yeah,
it's...
My only worry is that everyone will start sounding the same soon because they'll all be using the same profiles.
Well, I mean, I still think really that, you know, you do have some places that have got their own amps and stuff, which I think that as a guitar player, it's worth trying your hardest at trying to play through everything if you can. It's a bit of fun anyway. Try not to take yourself too seriously, which I guess is like, if you can try and get a decent noise out of every amp possible with the minimum amount of fuss, it's a good thing to try doing.
Well, I've seen you playing through Marshalls, Boogies, and 6505s in the past.
Yeah,
but you seem to
but
get.
I've got Vox as well.
Well, the thing is, though, this is the difference. This is what I'm getting at. Is like it always sounds like you. They're different amps, but the tone's not a million miles away from where it is because you know how to dial it in. You know what you're after. Yeah.
I mean, you figure it out. I think generally, as long as you've got a tube screamer, you can pretty much get what you want. But of course, it can be more of a challenge if you put into something like I guess something like a Fender Bassman or something like that. But yeah, I've come across Fender Bassmans where if you crank it up all the way, they sound absolutely fantastic. But so, and also like the whole Van Halen going into a plexi and turning everything up full.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm really fascinated by that. I don't have a plexi. I'd like to have one.
Turn it up full. Yeah.
And is it Variac?
It's a Variac to lower the voltage going to the amp, basically.
Yeah.
And he was running it instead of 120 volts in the States, which is the standard power over there, 120 volts. He was running it around 89, 90.
Yeah.
And they actually prolonged the life of the tubes a little bit. But what it actually did was it kind of squished and made the amp work a bit harder. So it was generally a more gainy and more compressed sound that he got out of it. And that's where the hard rock sound started in the 80s, wasn't it? It was everybody wanted their Marshalls modded.
Never mind the 80s. What about in the in the late 60s when people were playing really loud?
Yeah.
No,
there was no PAs. There was no PAs around then. They had to play loud.
They just had but can you imagine what it was like for the actual, like the singers on stage, when the guitarist would have like a plexi cranked up full with like 2 cabs, maybe 4, maybe
4, yeah. Well, you got back in the day of like Pete Townsend and Richie Blackmore having 200-watt Marshall heads.
Yeah,
watts because of
the Mesa Boogie's 150. That's pretty.
100 wasn't loud enough. Like nowadays we're on stage where we can only have them up about 2.
Oh God, but it must have been so definitely loud. I'm kind of fascinated. There's back in the late 60s, early 70s when prog was starting to sort of come along, and you'd have bands like Atomic Rooster and they'd be in Peterborough. I mean, obviously I wasn't around then, but in Peterborough there was a club which was like in the back room of a hotel, and these, all the Black Sabbaths and were playing in this room, and apparently it was just so deafeningly loud in there that it would just make people sick. And how did it happen? I mean, you can imagine how loud it was.
It's crazy to think about, isn't it? Really, but like I said, there was no such thing as big PAs then. No. I mean, you got the Beatles playing Shea Stadium with 2 AC30s, and it's like,
what is that?
Yeah, exactly. It's nuts.
It's hilarious.
So
I tried using the same approach because I am fascinated about Van Halen's tone. So I tried seeing if I could get anything similar out of my JCM 800, but really you do it because of the gain stage being different.
Yeah.
So you have to turn the mid down.
It's more of a preamp gain based amp, the 800, where the plexi, you've got to crank the output tubes. It's a different thing,
different animal. You can turn everything up full, but on the JCM 800 you can't do that. You've got to turn the mid down. You've got to turn the treble down. It'll cut your head off.
It will.
If you don't do it, it will murder you.
It will. I mean, I the loudest thing I've ever plugged into was testing Tony Iommi's stage rig, which was 8 heads and 16 cabs.
Bloody hell!
All slaved. They're all on. Yeah,
they're all on.
Yeah. I got in the car to go home. It was on Friday after the factory closed. This was back when I was at Laney. Literally, I got in the car and turned the radio on. Started driving. Couldn't hear it. Turned it up. Couldn't hear it. I couldn't hear it.
Oh God!
I lost my hearing for 2 days. I didn't realise how it was more of a feel thing than a hear thing. It was that loud, at stage volume. and it just knocked my hearing out for 2 days.
Oh shit!
Yeah, quite scary at the time, but
Yeah, it is.
But it's rock and roll, isn't it?
Shit.
What's your favourite show you've ever played? And it can be for any reason. It could be you've played massive places all over the world, and
probably I'm going to have to say, and I'll change my mind next week, but when I played the Phoenix Festival in '96 with the Prodigy, it was an important gig. It wasn't just. I'm not even. It's difficult to say favorite, but it was super important, that gig. In some ways, it was favorite. Oh man, I mean, you see, the way how the Prodigy used to operate was almost like a tag team. You'd have Keith, he'd have his thing, and then you'd have Leroy, who was like, 6'7" dancer. And when he danced, his arms and legs all over the place. It was almost like he was on stilts. It's so big. And then, you got Maxim nearly throughout the gig emceeing, and, a lot of charisma. And with his lenses, kind of, quite scary looking guy. Whereas Keith was like literally energy represented by a human being. There was the energy in that guy was furious. It was almost magical. It was, there was almost something to him that was otherworldly, He had so much energy. And so it was like a tag team. We would go on one after the other, like that kind of thing. And then 20 minutes, and you can imagine it's quite an agonizing amount of time. 20 minutes, and it's my first song that I'm going to get up and play. And there's this song called Weather Experience. And it's just like this amazing build-up. The song is kind of almost ethereal, sort of sad. It's the end of one thing, the beginning of another. And then it signaled me stepping out onto the stage. And then, the first thing was that kind of like that. And I had this kind of, at the time, I might have to use a different guitar. Probably have to use the blue one. And that guitar at the time was tuned to a drop D, so it won't be the same. This one isn't at the moment. But the first thing that I did was like that. Kind of. Can't even remember what I did. Let me just get the chord. That's it. So you got to try and imagine. And I'm coming in with that. You get on. Remember, it's a long time ago. Like that. So that intro and that kind of funny SOS interjecting with this, I had like a couple of Marshalls behind me, and it was very loud. They were cranked right up, and of course it was all coming through the monitor system, which was 35,000 watts on stage.
Wow.
So it was really loud, and I wasn't using in-ears. It was all monitors. And this whole kind of SOS signal, which is kind of like a little bit like Asteroid, the old kind of the in-between films music at the the cinema, so I was going for that approach, which I seem to remember. I'm sure there was a tune out at the time that sampled it. So I kind of nixed that.
Was actually, yeah.
And then, Liam was totally happy. And then straight on. And I was wearing my old leather jacket that I used to wear in the Destructors back when I was 14, 15, 16, 17, back in 1981, 2, 3, 4. And, it was fucking, and then I'm on stage in front of 75,000 people with Keith and Maxim, and everyone's going bloody mental. And I'll tell you that the build-up was so huge that whenever the audience, they, you know, and also Maxim, he said at the time when I came on stage, he actually shouted out, Gizz Butt! He shouted that through about, you know, 1 million watts. So throughout the entire festival, and I'm there giving it this Gizz Butt, you know, I'm like, you know, it was a great moment. It just kept building until eventually, and the amount of people that all jumped up and down at the same time, whoa, you know, you felt the earth tremor. And then there was the middle section, which unfortunately, as I don't have, the only way that I can do this is using the telly now, because that's the only one I can drop D.
Right.
So if I do it with the telly, you'll know what I mean. Ah, Jesus. It's all in the name of art. All right, so. Like that, and again that bit as well, when that built up, it was like the audience were almost, it was orgasmic, you know. It was the feeling, there's this damn energy, and I tell you that, you know, a lot of it was coming from Keith. You know, the energy was ferocious.
Yeah,
it was like an orgy of energy. It was brilliant. But then to top it off, you know, I came off and, you know, it was amazing. And then another couple of songs went on, and then I'm getting prepared. In about 8 minutes, I'm going back on the stage, and you know, the next song was going to be Firestarter, and that song was almost, in a way, it was almost like my little me and Keith's thing, really. Just before we were playing it, I heard the tech guy, Phil, he whispered, "Oh my God, it's Bowie." And I turned around, and there's fucking David Bowie coming up the steps. He's coming right towards me.
wow.
And I'm thinking, it's David fucking Bowie. Do you know what I mean? I just couldn't believe. And he comes right up. He goes, "How's it going? You know, I've heard that they've got this new guitarist, you know, what's it like?" You know? And I just said, "Yeah, it's great. It's great. I'm just about to go on." You know, he's like, "Oh, I'm going to stay here and watch," you know, and I'm like, wow, fucking hell. Now, if you watch the YouTube footage of Prodigy at Phoenix Festival '96, and if you watch just before Firestarter, you'll see me running from the right behind my Marshall Stark, and you'll see my hand coming out and pointing. And I'm pointing at David Bowie, who's smiling back at me with those great big, beautiful teeth of his. And, you know, and I'm saying, "This one's for you." And fuck, yeah, that moment, you know, and then going out and Firestarter, you know, it was orgasmic, you know, it was. But there was other things involved too, you know, which made it kind of like something to think about, you know. You'll have to read about it. I am writing a book.
All right, cool.
So you'll one day, you know, you'll find out all the full story. There was something that happened, and when that thing, and it happened there and then. So in other words, if you watch the live footage, you'll see it happening. All right, but you probably won't guess. So you'll have to read the book when I do it. But the thing that happened, not only was it the beginning of something great, it was the beginning of the end.
Right.
Right. To be continued.
To be continued, yeah.
What's your next question?
I was going to ask you, just to finish up, I was going to say, what do we got to look forward to? You just mentioned the book as well, so that's kind of leading into it. But
yeah,
obviously you're working on music at the moment as well, aren't you? We you know,
yeah.
What can we look forward to when we can get out and get about a bit and start doing some live shows and things, you know?
Yeah, it's all. I mean, the phone's ringing. We've got some bookings. Look out for Janus Stark. And we're on Time and Matter Records. So again, whilst the lockdowns happened, you know, we've released 2 albums, which we did that, you know, and they're out there. So look out for Janus Stark, and you'll find these records. And we're going out and playing. The other thing that I did during the lockdown, I recorded an album with a band called The Dole.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, which is like an early punk band, but we did it, and you know, we did it during the lockdown. You know, we were all quite chuffed with it. You know, we did a good job. We actually recorded most of the album before lockdown happened, so that I could just do my bits in here. You know,
yeah.
So I did the vocals on that as well. So that's about to come out.
Brilliant.
The Destructors, my old punk band, we're about to release. Because our bass player, he passed, which is tragic. But I had a load of tapes, you see, from back in the day. So we're about to re-release like a remixed EP. So, and we've made these old songs sound pretty spunky, you know, even though they were only recorded on 8-track, but they sound great, you know. So the wonders of modern technology and things like that. And so we're doing that, working on an English dog sting as well. Been trying to get hold of all the live footage. I've got ideas. I'd love to put out some really good live stuff. And new Janus Stark album. So 15 songs. Start recording that properly in April. But there's a lot going to be going on in the fall, you know, in September. So we're doing a new album. Yeah,
fantastic.
Yeah, really looking forward to that.
What I can do is I can put all the links to all the projects and everything in the description in here. So anything that you want to put
the last
people
album,
in the right direction of, yeah, I can put them in here.
The last one, I reckon, if there's anything that if people want to hear me do anything, it's the last album, Angel in the Flames, because, you know, we really worked hard for that album, you know. So that's the one. Check that out, you know. You can get it wherever, you know, wherever you want to buy it. If you want vinyl, you can get the vinyl. If you want CD, you can get the CD. If you want to download it, you can download it. If you want to stream it, you can stream it. Angel in the Flames. Check that album out.
That's the one to check out.
That's the one, yeah.
Wow, brilliant, mate! It's been so ace catching up, because I don't think we've seen each other for about 5 years, have we?
No.
I think last time we did was the aforementioned last people up on the whole of Donington site, weren't we?
And we both had it all happen to us as well, haven't we? You know,
couldn't get in the tent, could we? Remember? Wouldn't open.
No. But I mean, we both had a right load of shit happen as well in the last few years, you know. Both my parents died last year. Fucking hell, you know.
I lost mine in the space of a couple of years as well, as you know.
Yeah.
So when I left the industry to look after them, but
yeah,
just got to move on. Just got to keep going, haven't you? Keep plugging away, I guess.
yeah. And just remember that they were great because they created you, and they were, you know, they were. We're lucky to have had good parents, aren't we?
Massively.
Yeah.
I remind myself that every day.
Yeah, we're very lucky, you know.
We are.
Yep.
Well, with that, buddy, I'll like I say, all links will be in the description for all the projects. I'll also put in the ones for the gear we discussed as well, because we discussed the Knuckle Pickups and the Vega Trems and all that stuff's really cool.
One last bit of gear I need to hip shot tuners.
Hip shot tuners. Okay, no problem. You swear by those too, yeah?
I mean, I don't get them for free. I pay for them.
Oh, yeah.
I love them.
Yeah.
I just love them. They're so cheap. You feel like, you know, if you try and get them for free, you feel like a bit of a twat.
Yeah, I get you on that.
Do you know what I mean?
But people, there is no depth that people will not stoop to get free things. Believe me, after being in the business and the questions you get asked sometimes, it's like, really? It's like £2, you know?
Yeah.
You don't get it, you know?
I mean, there's these Ibanez guitars as well. I don't have any in this room, but there's, you know, like the ARZ 200, which is like the Les Paul lookalike.
Yeah.
I've got a collection of them. I got one of them for £180. You know, what's the fucking point in trying to blag that for free? It's nearly free anyway, you know.
Yeah, it's a lot of guitar for 180 quid, yeah? Yeah.
Really, if anyone out there wants to get a great guitar for like really cheap, try and get one of them.
Yeah, they are good. They are great.
Very good.
Good advice as normal, man. This has been really enjoyable, actually. We've covered a lot of stuff. We've had even had a little bit of live performance in here as well, which I didn't expect, and it's awesome. You know what I mean? It's great. I've really loved it. So yeah, links and it will be in the description below for all the things we spoke about today. Gizz, it's been fantastic to catch up, mate. I've really, really enjoyed it, and I'll see you all soon. Thanks very much.
We'll drink again. Don't know where, don't know when, but I know we'll drink again some sunny day. Yeah, see you again. I'm looking forward to it, mate. I'll see you again as soon as we can. Okay, I'm going to go and have a cup of coffee. So I'll see you later.
It's been great, mate. Thanks so much.
Cheers for now.
In a bit.
You've been listening to the Beer and Gear podcast with Chris Taylor.